The Veyari were hiding again. Their thin, insectoid bodies pressed flat against the cold rock walls of the asteroid tunnels. Above, the vibrations of massive engines sent clouds of dust falling from cracks in the ceiling. The young ones chittered, softly, their high-pitched voices trembling with fear. The elder Veyari placed their clawed hands over their mouths, trying to silence them. But it was no use. They could all feel it. The hunters were near. Thermal sensors swept across the tunnels. In sweeping arcs of red light, the Veyari froze as a beam passed over them, praying their body heat would be masked by the cold stone. For generations, the Veyari had been running from planet to planet, from system to system. Once, long ago, they had lived in lush forests, on a warm world, but the Caltheran Empire had burned that world to ash. The Caltheran called them the pests of the galaxy. Weak, pathetic, worthy of extermination. And now, the last few thousand Veyari were cornered. This asteroid field was supposed to be safe to dense for enemy ships to navigate, but the Caltheran had sent their extermination fleets anyway. Massive cruisers bristling with plasma cannons, drones shaped like metal hounds, sniffing for any trace of life. The Veyari elders' mandibles clicked in a soft prayer. Forgive us. Forgive us for being born prey. And then the vibrations stopped. The Caltheran ships went silent. The elder raised his head, confused. That's when they felt it. A new vibration. A deep, rumbling pulse, unlike anything they had felt before. The chittering of the young faded, as even they sensed it. Something enormous was approaching. In the cold vacuum of space, a ship emerged. Not Caltheran, not any design the galaxy had seen before. It was sleek and black, as if carved from the void itself. Massive engines glowed faint blue as it slid through. The asteroid field with impossible precision. No shields. No escorts. Just a single ship, but its presence felt heavier than an entire fleet. The Caltheran vessels scrambled. Sensors scanned the newcomer. Unidentified vessel detected. No registry, no known design. The Caltheran commander snarled, "Destroy it. No one interrupts the hunt." Dozens of plasma cannons rotated toward the black ship before they could fire. The black ship spoke. Its voice was calm, mechanical. And deeply unsettling, Caltheran vessels, leave immediately in this sector. Leave immediately. The Caltheran commander laughed. Who dares? That's when the black ship fired. It wasn't a barrage. Wasn't even a salvo. Just one. Shot a beam of energy so precise, so fast, it tore through the Caltheran flagship in silence. The massive ship split in two, glowing metal fragments tumbling into the darkness. The other Caltheran ships froze. "This is your only warning," the voice said again. "Leave." They left. The Caltheran fleet turned and jumped to hyperspace. In seconds, the predators of the galaxy were gone, and the Veyari were alone with the black ship. The Veyari elder felt terror grip his chest. The Caltheran were gone, yes. But what was this new ship? Had they traded one predator for another? Deep hum echoed through the tunnels. The elder turned as a beam of light scanned the cavern, washing over the huddled Veyari. "What is that?" one of the young asked. The elder didn't answer. A sound filled the cavern now like air escaping a sealed chamber. A figure appeared in the light. It wasn't Caltheran. It wasn't Vey. It was tall, two-legged, clad in strange armor with glowing lights along its arms and chest. Its face was hidden behind a smooth black visor. The young ones pressed closer to the elder. Trembling, the armored figure stepped forward slowly. It spoke in a low, deliberate voice. "You are the Veyari." The elder's mandibles clicked nervously. "Yes, we are. Who are you?" "We are human." The elder had never heard the word before. "Hugh, man, are you here too? To kill us too?" The human tilted its head. "No, we are here because we saw what was happening to your kind. The galaxy hunts you, calls you weak, pathetic." The elder's claws tightened. "We are weak. We have no weapons, no fleets, cannot fight." The human was silent for a long moment. Then it said, "Perhaps that can change." The elder looked up, confused. "What do you mean, if we help you?" "You will never be prey again. We will make you predators." The cavern fell silent. The elder's breath came in sharp, shallow gasps. Predators? The Veyari had been prey for thousands of years. Running, hiding, dying. Could these strange humans truly make them into something else? The human extended a hand. "We can save your species, but you must agree to the cost." The elder hesitated. "What cost?" The human's visor gleamed in the dim light. "The cost of becoming monsters." As the black ship hovered above the asteroid, its engines hummed with quiet menace. The Veyari had no choice. The elder reached out with a trembling claw and took the human's hand in the black ship's medbay. A frail Veyari lies on a surgical table. Robotic arms descend. Worry. Glowing blue liquid fills the air with a faint mist. "Are you ready?" a Kuman doctor asks. The Veyari whispers, "Make me strong." The machines begin their work. The galaxy's weakest species is about to die, and something far more dangerous is about to be born. The black dreadnought moved silently through the void, its hull as dark as the emptiness around it. From the outside, it seemed almost lifeless, a ghost ship drifting between stars. But inside, it was alive with purpose. In the heart of the ship, deep below layers of armored plating, humans stood in a cold, sterile chamber. Bright lights hummed overhead. Walls lined with glowing screens displayed alien anatomy, DNA strands twisting endlessly, and schematics of mechanical implants. At the center of the room, a single word flashed on the largest screen. Project WIRBAST Commander Elise Varric crossed her arms as she studied the gathered scientists. "You've had days to prepare," she said coldly. "Convince me this madness is worth it." Dr. Adrian Core, the lead scientist, stepped forward. His white coat rustled as he shifted nervously. "With respect," Commander Core said, "this isn't madness, it's survival. For them, and maybe even for us." Varric's eyes narrowed. "Go on." Core gestured to a hologram that flickered. To life in the center of the room, the image of a Veyari appeared, thin, fragile, insectoid. Its chitin was cracked, its limbs shook. The small creature's black eyes reflected nothing but fear. "This," Core said, "is how the galaxy sees them. Prey, pests. Too weak to stand, too soft to fight." The hologram shifted. Now the Veyari's body was surrounded by red targeting. Reticles, energy blasts tore through its exoskeleton. The creature fell, lifeless. "This is how the galaxy treats them." Varric frowned. "So why are we risking our resources to save them? They're not our responsibility." The room fell silent for a moment. Then Dr. Core spoke again, his voice steady, "Because the galaxy underestimates them. And that's our opportunity." He tapped a console. The hologram changed. Now the Veyari stood taller. Its frail body was replaced by thick chitin plated with glowing cybernetics. Its limbs were armored and powerful, tipped with deadly claws. Glowing red eyes replaced the dull black ones. This wasn't prey anymore. This was a predator. Project Warbeast Core said, "We will fuse their biology with human technology, reinforce their frail bodies, amplify their reflexes, build a neural interface to suppress fear and enhance aggression." Another scientist spoke up, Dr. Lin, a geneticist. "Their nervous systems will be restructured. They'll fight without hesitation, hunt without mercy, and they will serve us, because we will be the ones who made them." Varric's stomach churned as she stared at the hologram. "You want to turn an entire species into weapons?" Core's expression didn't waver. "If we don't, they'll die anyway. At least this way, they'll have a chance to survive, and they'll be useful to us." A voice from the corner of the room cut through the tense silence. "Or maybe they'll turn on us instead." It was Captain Doran, one of Varric's senior officers. His face was tight with anger. "You're talking about giving a fragile, desperate race the power to destroy fleets? What happens when they decide they don't need us anymore?" Core's eyes flashed. "Then we control them," he gestured. At a set of schematics on the screen, neural inhibitors, Fail-safe implants? If they rebel, we shut them down with a single command? Doran shook his head. That sounds comforting, till it doesn't work. Varric raised her hand to silence. Then both. You're asking me to gamble on the survival of our fleet? For these insects, Kor stepped closer, his voice quiet now. Commander, humanity has always been the predator. We know how to hunt, how to fight, and now we'll teach them too. Varric stared at the glowing red eyes of the Warbeast hologram. She thought of the Veyari elder reaching out with trembling claws, begging for salvation. She thought of the Caltheran Empire, burning world after world, laughing at humanity's arrival in their galaxy, and she made her decision. Do it. The decision was relayed to the Veyari leaders aboard the ship. They gathered in a small chamber, the air thick with tension. The elder's mandibles clicked nervously as he translated the human's offer to the others. They say they can make us strong, the elder said. Stronger than anything the galaxy has seen, but at what cost? One Veyari asked, his voice quivering. The elder looked down at his frail claws. The cost of becoming monsters. A long silence followed. Finally, the elder raised his head. Would you rather be monsters or extinct? The first experiments began. Veyari volunteers were strapped to 2 surgical tables in the Dreadnought's medical bay. Robotic arms descended, whirring and clicking. Needles pierced exoskeletons. Bones were replaced with carbon-reinforced alloys. Muscles were laced with synthetic fibers. As the procedures began, some Veyari screamed. Others lay silently, there. Mandibles clenched tight. One by one, the weak bodies of the Veyari were torn apart and rebuilt. The first Warbeast opened its eyes. They glowed red in the sterile white light of the medbay. The creature took a shuddering breath, its armored chest rising and falling. It flexed its new claws. The sound of metal scraping against metal filled the room. Dr. Kor smiled faintly. Beautiful. But then, the Warbeast let out a sound, a low, guttural growl that sent chills down the spines of everyone in the room. The creature's glowing eyes locked on the nearest human. In a single blur of motion, it tore free from its restraints. Alarms blared. Guards raised their weapons as the Warbeast crouched low, claws ready to strike. For one terrifying moment, it seemed the creature would attack. Then a sharp, electrical pulse rang out. The Warbeast froze, its red eyes dimmed slightly as the neural inhibitors activated. Good, Kor said calmly. Control systems are functional. But even as the Warbeast knelt back onto the table, its growl lingered in the air. Captain Doran watched from behind the glass, his fists clenched. You're playing with fire, he muttered, and one day it's going to burn us all. Actor? Kor didn't even look at him. That's the price of progress. In the shadows of the Dreadnought, the other Veyari waited. They could hear the screams of their kin as the experiments continued, and deep in their hearts, they asked themselves a question. Are we still Veyari? Or have we already become something else? In a dark chamber, 6 Warbeasts stand in formation. Their bodies gleam with steel and chitin. Claws twitch in anticipation. A human officer watches them, whispering under his breath, God help us if we've created something we can't. Control. The Warbeasts turn their glowing red eyes toward him, and for just a moment, they smile. The steel chamber was silent. Cold white lights glared down on the surgical table, where something monstrous lay still. Its body was long and insectoid, but not like the frail Veyari anymore. The delicate chitin had been stripped away, replaced with black armored plating reinforced by glowing blue veins of energy. Muscles bulged where there had once been thin, brittle limbs. Razor-edged claws tapped lightly on the table as if testing their strength. The creature's chest slowly rose and fell. Its eyes were closed, and then they opened. Twin orbs glowed red in the dim light. Vitals stable, Dr. Adrian Kor said softly, his voice full of awe. Cognitive activity is spiking. Neural interface is online. Commander Elise Varric stood beside him, arms crossed as she studied the beast. So, she murmured, this is what you've made. Kor didn't look at her. This is what we've saved. The Warbeast took its first breath. The sound was a low, rumbling growl that reverberated through the chamber. Walls, its clawed hands clenched, metal grinding against metal. "Release the restraints," Core ordered. A technician hesitated. "Sir, it's dangerous." Core's eyes flashed. "Didn't create it to lie on a table. Release it." The magnetic clamps disengaged with a hiss. The Warbeast sat up slowly, its movements unnaturally smooth for a creature its size. For a moment, it simply stared at the humans behind the observation glass. Its mandibles twitched as if testing old instincts buried under layers of steel and circuitry. "Begin combat calibration," Core commanded. A panel opened in the floor. A humanoid training bot rose up, armed with blunt blades and reinforced armor. The Warbeast's head snapped toward it. "Engage." Bot lunged forward, blade swinging. The Warbeast didn't even flinch in a single motion. It leapt across the chamber. There was a screech of tearing metal as its claws ripped the bot in half. Sparks showered the floor as the Warbeast slammed its foot down, crushing the bot's head into scrap. It stood there, chest heaving, glowing eyes fixed on the humans. "Incredible," Core whispered. "The reaction time, the strength. It's perfect." Varric didn't look convinced. "Look at its face, Doctor. That's not a soldier. That's a predator." The Warbeast suddenly let out a deafening roar. The sound shook the walls and sent technicians stumbling back in fear. Then it turned and charged the observation glass. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed as the Warbeast slammed into the barrier. Cracks spider-webbed across the reinforced glass. "Contain it," Varric shouted. Core slammed his hand onto a console, a neural inhibitor. A high-pitched pulse filled the chamber. The Warbeast froze mid-strike. Its claws hovered inches. From the glass, its glowing red eyes dimmed slightly. The creature stumbled back, shaking its head as if trying to resist. Then, slowly it knelt. "Control restored," the technician reported, his voice trembling. Varric turned to Core, her expression cold. "You've lost control in the first 2 minutes." Core shook his head. "No, this is natural. It's testing its limits. All predators do." She stepped closer, her eyes locked on the kneeling beast. "If this thing decides we're prey, Doctor, there won't be a ship left to stop it." But Core's mind was elsewhere as he stared at the Warbeast. His lips curled into a faint smile. "They'll never see it coming," he whispered. A new predator, the Veyari, who had volunteered for transformation, stood in a line in the training hall, 6 of them, each one larger and stronger than before. Their fragile bodies now armored and augmented. Their glowing eyes scanned the room. Like hungry animals waiting for the hunt to begin, KO or R stood in front of them, flanked by human soldiers. "You. We're prey," he said. "Now you are hunters. The galaxy will fear you, and they will never harm your kind again." The Warbeasts tilted their heads in unison, listening. "But make no mistake, cure power exists because we gave it to you. You fight for us. You kill. For us, that is your purpose." In the corner of the room, Captain Doran watched with his arms folded. "They're not soldiers," he muttered. "They're weapons. And weapons don't care who they're aimed at." Varric heard him but said nothing. Deep down, she feared he was right. The first test word of the Warbeasts spread quickly among the humans, and soon spread beyond. On a neutral trade station at the edge of the sector, alien merchants whispered to each other in fear. "They say the humans have created monsters. I heard one tore apart a tank with its claws. The Veyari. Possible. They're insects. Not anymore." Rumors traveled faster than light, and the galaxy began to shudder, the growing hunger in the training hall. One of the Warbeasts crouched low, its claws scratching deep gouges into the steel floor. It stared at a human soldier standing too close. "Hey," soldier said nervously, "back off." The Warbeast didn't move. Then it opened its mouth slightly and smiled. Dr. Core watched the scene from a balcony above. He made a note on his datapad. Increased aggression toward handlers. Monitor closely. Neural inhibitor effectiveness, 94%. He hesitated for a moment before adding another line. 94%, is not 100%. On a distant Caltheran warship, an officer studied the grainy footage smuggled from human space. In the video, a single Warbeast was shown tearing through combat drones with terrifying efficiency. The officer turned to his commander, his face pale. "The humans, they've made something." The commander sneered. "They've made their own doom. No one controls predators forever." The Warbeast on the screen turned suddenly, as if it could see the Caltheran watching. Its red eyes glowed brighter, and for the first time in centuries, the Caltheran commander felt fear. The raiders had been laughing for hours. On the dusty surface of a nameless backwater moon, their makeshift camp blazed with light and noise. The smell of burning fuel mixed with cheap alcohol as rough-looking aliens crowded around a fire. Wore mismatched armor, scavenged weapons slung across their backs. Some sharpened blades on stones. Others sat counting crates of stolen supplies. A tall, scarred raider slammed his mug on the table. "Veyari," he roared, laughing so hard his tusks glinted in the firelight. "You're telling me the humans are sending insects after us?" Others joined in, laughter echoing through the camp. "Insects can't fight," one shouted. "They couldn't even fight off the Caltheran," yelled another. "Pathetic little bugs," the scarred raider sneered. "We'll squash them like we squash everything else." He reached down and crushed a small moon beetle under his boot. The group erupted in cheers, but high above the moon's surface, something was watching. A black ship hovered silently in low orbit, hidden in the shadows. In its belly, 6 Warbeasts crouched in the launch bay. Their breathing was deep and steady. Glowing red eyes fixed on the hatch ahead. Commander Elise Varick stood behind armored glass, her arms crossed. "This is it," she said quietly. "Their first mission. Dr. Adrian." Kor's voice was calm, almost proud. "They'll succeed. This is what we built them for." Captain Doran stood nearby, grim-faced. "And if they don't?" he asked. Kor didn't look at him. "They will." The drop inside the launch bay, red lights pulsed. The Warbeasts stayed perfectly still as a robotic voice announced. "Drop sequence initiated. Target Pirate Camp Surface Grid K9. Objective, eliminate hostiles. No survivors." The floor beneath them opened. For a brief moment, the Warbeasts were weightless. Then they fell. 6 armored forms plunged through the thin atmosphere like meteors, heat sheathing their bodies in glowing red streaks. When they hit the ground, the moon shook. The hunt begins. The hunt begins in the pirate camp. The laughter died. The ground trembled beneath their feet. What was that?" One raider muttered. A faint hiss filled the air as steam rose from the darkness beyond their lights. Then, glowing red eyes appeared. Dozens of them. The first Warbeast stepped out of the shadows. It was massive, 2 meters tall, its armored body gleaming like wet obsidian. Claws like plasma blades scraped against the ground, leaving molten scars in the dirt. The scarred raider took a step back. What is that?" The Warbeast moved so fast, the pirates barely had time to scream. In a blur, it crossed the camp and tore the first raider in half with one swipe of its claws. A second Warbeast leapt into the air, landing on a group of pirates and crushing them beneath its bulk. Blasters fired wildly into the night, but the shots ricocheted harmlessly off, reinforced chitin. The Warbeasts moved as one, silent, precise, unstoppable. Claws slashed, teeth tore. Screams filled the moon's thin atmosphere. The scarred raider ran, gasping for air, clutching a plasma pistol. He darted into the shadows, his heart pounding in his chest. "Bugs. They're just bugs. They can't," a low growl. "Cut him off." He turned. A Warbeast crouched on a ledge above him, glowing red eyes fixed on his face. The raider fired. The plasma bolt struck the Warbeast square in the chest. It fizzled harmlessly. The creature smiled. Then it leaped. The aftermath minutes later. The camp was silent. Fires crackled gently. Bodies lay scattered across the ground, most of them unrecognizable. Warbeasts stood in a circle, claws dripping with blood, steam rising from their armored forms. "Mission complete," the lead Warbeast said in a low, rasping voice. High above. On the black ship, Commander Varric exhaled slowly. They did it. Kor allowed himself a small smile. I told you, he said. Weaklings no more. The galaxy reacts hours later. Footage of the attack spread across the outer colonies. A shaky recording from a pirate drone showed the Warbeasts tearing through the camp like a storm. Alien traders gathered in smoky bars, watching in silence as the video looped. Those were Veyari, one whispered. They've changed, said another. The humans changed them. A grizzled bounty hunter downed his drink and growled. They're not prey anymore. On a Caltheran flagship, an admiral watched the footage with a cold expression. Deploy more fleets, he said. The humans think they can make predators out of pests. We'll crush them all the same. But deep in his gut, the admiral felt unease. He had seen the way those red eyes glowed, and for the first time in decades, he wondered, what if the pests are stronger than we think? In the dark training hall aboard the human dreadnought, the 6 Warbeasts knelt before Dr. Kor. They were silent, their heads bowed. Kor walked slowly between them, hands clasped behind his back. You've tasted blood, he said, and you like it. The lead Warbeast's claws twitched. Yes, it growled. More, Kor smiled faintly. You'll have more soon, much more. Behind the observation glass, Captain Doran turned to Varric. They're getting hungrier every mission. Varric's eyes stayed locked on the creatures below. Let's just hope we can keep them on our leash. The lead Warbeast raised its head, glowing eyes staring directly at the glass as if it could hear them, and it smiled. The training field smelled of blood. Rows of Veyari Warbeasts stood in formation, their black armored bodies glinting under harsh white lights. Claws, still wet from their last mission, tapped impatiently on steel floors. Their glowing red eyes stared unblinking at the human in front of them. Sergeant Kane strode down the line, his boots thudding heavily. You're not soldiers, he said, his voice cold and sharp. You're predators. Kane stopped, his scarred face inches from the lead Warbeast. Hunters. The Warbeast bared its teeth in a silent snarl. Kane didn't flinch. A hunter doesn't wait for orders. A hunter stalks, strikes, kills, and never, ever shows mercy. He stepped back and spread his arms. Today we teach you to hunt. The training begins on a desolate training world. The Warbeasts were unleashed. The humans had built entire mock cities. It's populated with combat drones and decoy enemies. The Warbeasts tore through them in hours. But Kane wasn't satisfied. You're not here to smash walls and rip throats, he barked over the combs. You're here to terrify. The next phase was psychological warfare. The Warbeasts learned to strike from the shadows, cutting off communications, isolating targets, leaving trails of destroyed drones to lure reinforcements into ambushes. They have to fear you before they even see you. Kane told them the Veyari adapted fast. Too fast. The change back on the dreadnought. Captain Doran watched the training footage with growing unease. They're learning faster than we expected. He muttered. Dr. Kor stood beside him, smiling. Faintly, of course they are. It's in their nature now. Doran shook his head. It wasn't their nature before we twisted them into this. Kor didn't reply, but deep in his mind, even he wondered how long their leash would hold. The rogue squad, the Warbeast flagship Predator 1, a squad of 6 Veyari waited in their dark quarters. They whispered to each other in their native. Clicks and hisses. Why do we obey? One growled. Because they made us, another replied. The first Warbeast bared its teeth. We were weak when they found us, but now we are strong. We don't need their orders anymore. The others fell silent, and then they nodded. The next mission was a simple strike against a pirate supply depot. But the rogue squad didn't stop there. They moved on to the nearest colony and outpost of a minor alien empire that had once enslaved. Veyari workers, the Warbeasts, descended like a nightmare. They tore through defenses, silenced every distress beacon, and slaughtered the entire population in a single night. Not even the children were spared. When human commanders tried to recall them, there was no response. The Galaxy Reacts footage leaked. Grainy vids showed black armored monsters moving silently through smoky ruins, their claws and mandibles dripping with alien blood. On a neutral station, alien leaders watched the images in horror. Those are the Veyari, the humans. What have they done? They're not prey anymore. They're not even Veyari anymore. They're monsters. The emergency summit in a vast galactic hall. Representatives of dozens of species gathered. The Caltheran admiral slammed his fist on the table. We warned you what humans were capable of. Now they've unleashed a plague of predators on us all. Trembling diplomat spoke up. Could the humans even stop them now if they tried? No one answered because deep down, they all knew the truth. On the Dreadnought commander, Varric stared at the data on her console. 17,000 dead. A colony wiped out in a single night. Captain Doran stood at her side, his jaw tight. They're slipping the leash. Dr. Kor appeared behind them, his expression unreadable. They're evolving faster than we projected. Their instincts are stronger? Varric turned on him, her eyes blazing. You promised us control, Kor. You promised this wouldn't happen. Kor met her glare calmly. Control is an illusion, Commander. You gave me prey and asked for predators. Now you have them. In a dark chamber aboard the Rogue Squad's stolen transport, the lead Warbeast crouched over a holographic map. Its claws tapped on a glowing human colony. They think they are our masters. The others leaned in, their red eyes blazing, but predators bow to no one. The lead Warbeast bared its teeth in a slow, hungry smile. Next, we hunt the humans. The field stank of blood and ashdod under the dull glow of a dying sun. A squad of Warbeasts stood perfectly still, their black armor streaked with gore. Claws dripped crimson as they waited, their glowing red eyes fixed on the humans standing before them. Sergeant Kane, a grizzled war instructor with a face like carved stone, paced slowly between their towering forms. You're not just soldiers anymore, he said, his voice sharp as a blade. You're hunters. And hunters never show mercy. The lead Warbeast twitched its claws, tilting its head at Kane's words. You were prey once, Kane continued, but now the galaxy fears you. He stopped, staring up into the glowing eyes of the lead Warbeast. Prove to me you deserve it. Phase 1. The Huntin, the barren training world of Tarsis 7. The Warbeasts were unleashed. An entire city had been built for them to destroy mock streets. Artificial weather and thousands of combat drones programmed to fight like real enemies. The first Warbeast crouched low, scanning the empty streets. Its armored chest rose and fell as it inhaled the faint scent of machine oil and ozone. Then it moved fast too. Fast for the human trainers watching from orbit, it darted from shadow to shadow, claws scraping softly against steel walls. Behind it, the rest of the squad followed in eerie silence. When the first drone patrol appeared, the Warbeast struck like lightning. The lead creature pounced, claws slicing through metal as sparks lit up the street. 2 more Warbeasts flanked. The drones from opposite alleys, ripping them apart in synchronized precision. Within seconds, the patrol was reduced to shredded parts scattered across the cracked pavement from orbit. Sergeant Kane nodded approvingly. They're learning faster than expected, he muttered. Phase 2. Fear is a weapon. The next test was psychological. Instead of direct combat, the Warbeasts were ordered to isolate, terrify, and break their enemies. Before striking at night, they left gutted drones, strung from light poles, as gruesome warnings. They flooded cum channels with distorted growls and static, unnerving the enemy before the attack even came. When the drones tried to retreat, the Warbeasts herded them like predators driving prey into a trap, and when the trap closed, there was no escape. Fear makes prey weak, Kane said over the cums, and you are predators now. The Warbeasts didn't answer, but their glowing eyes seemed to burn. Brighter in the darkness, the change in the observation deck of the Dreadnought Horizon's Edge. Commander Elise Varric watched the footage in silence. They're adapting, she said, faster than any human squad could. Captain Doran folded his arms, his face grim. "They're not adapting," he said. "They're evolving." Dr. Adrian Corr smirked faintly. "Of course they are. That's what we built them for." But even he felt a cold knot in his stomach as he studied the Warbeast's fluid. Almost feral movements, the rogue squad. Not all of the Warbeasts were content to follow orders. On board the transport ship Predator's Fang, the squad of 6, Veyari, whispered among themselves in their native chittering tongue. "Why do we obey the humans?" one asked, its claws twitching. "Because they made us strong," another replied. The first Warbeast's red eyes glowed brighter. "They made us hunters. But hunters do not bow." The others fell silent, and then they nodded. Their next mission was supposed to be a surgical strike against a pirate depot, but they never stopped at the depot. Instead, the rogue squad descended on a nearby alien colonia, peaceful outpost of the Veyari Empire. The Warbeasts tore through the colony's defenses in a single night. Civilians fled screaming as the creatures stalked the streets, slaughtering everyone. In their path, no survivors, no distress beacons. The outpost was wiped from existence before anyone could react. The Galaxy Reacts footage leaked shaky vids from Veyari spies showed black-armored monsters prowling through burning buildings there. Claws drenched in alien blood. They were supposed to be extinct, whispered one trader on a neutral station. "They're not Veyari anymore," said another. "There's something worse." In the Galactic Council chamber, representatives of dozens of empires argued furiously. "The humans have created monsters," roared the Caltheran admiral. "They swore they could control them," a Veyari diplomat cried. "Was that a lie?" A nervous ambassador whispered the question no one wanted to answer. "What if the humans can't stop them anymore?" Back on the Dreadnought commander, Varric stared at the casualty report. 30,000 dead, entire colony erased in one night. Captain Doran slammed his fist on the console. "We warned you, Corr. We said this would happen." Dr. Corr's face was pale, his usual calm replaced by a faint tremor in his voice. "They weren't supposed to break free," he murmured. Varric spun on him, her voice like ice. "You've unleashed predators on the galaxy. Pray they don't turn on us next." Aboard the rogue squad's stolen ship, the lead Warbeast crouched in the shadows, staring at a glowing holographic map. Its claws tapped slowly on a highlighted human colony. "They think they are our masters," it growled. The others gathered behind it, red eyes burning. But predators bow to no one. The lead Warbeast bared its fangs in a hungry smile. "Next, we hunt the humans." The smell of blood was thick in the air, in the middle of a burned-out field. 6 Veyari Warbeasts crouched low, their claws dripping red. Their black, armored bodies gleamed under harsh floodlights. Behind them, the smoldering remains of dozens of combat drones littered the ground. A single human stood in front of them, Sergeant Kane, horse-guard, and unflinching, stared into their glowing red eyes. "You're not just soldiers anymore," he said, voice like gravel. "You're hunters, and hunters never show mercy." The lesson begins on board the human dreadnought Horizon's Edge. Commander Elise Varric and Dr. Adrian Corr watched from the observation deck as the Warbeasts prepared for their next drill. "Phase 1 was a success," Corr said calmly. "They've mastered basic combat." Varric kept her arms crossed, her face tight. "Basic combat isn't enough," she replied. "The galaxy isn't afraid of soldiers. It's afraid of monsters in the shadows." Down on the surface of Tarsis 9, Sergeant Kane pointed toward a sprawling simulation city. "You're going in silent?" he barked over. "There comes no explosions. No noise, no survivors." The lead Warbeast, a massive Veyari with obsidian armor and glowing scars, clicked its mandibles in response. It understood phase. Fear is a weapon. The Warbeasts moved like living shadows, under the cover of night. They crept through the streets. One by one, sentry drones vanished, dragged into alleys, and torn apart. When drone patrols came to investigate, they found bodies hung upside down from lampposts, their metal casings gutted and sparking. The rest, panicked, They tried to regroup, tried to fight, but the Warbeasts hunted them like prey. They struck from above, from below, from angles no enemy expected. By dawn, the entire city was silent. The Warbeasts stood in the center square, their claws wet and steaming. "Excellent," Kor said, his voice almost proud. Varric turned to him sharply. "They're starting to think for themselves." "Good," Kor replied. "That's what predators do." The rogue squad, not all of the Warbeasts, were content with their human masters. Aboard the transport Predator's Fang, 6 Veyari crouched in a dark chamber. "We have power now," the leader hissed in their chittering tongue. "The humans think they control us." "They made us predators," another growled. "Predators don't bow." The leader's red eyes burned brighter. "Then we hunt for ourselves." The squad fell silent, and then they nodded. The Blood Colony, their next mission was supposed to be a simple strike against pirate ships, but the rogue squad never stopped at the pirates. They set their sights on something bigger, a Velthari Colonia, peaceful settlement of farmers and traders. By the time human commanders realized the squad had gone rogue, it was too late. The colony was ash, tens of thousands dead, no distress signals, no survivors, just a single transmission sent to human high command. "We are not prey." The Galaxy Reacts news spread like wildfire. Leaked footage showed monstrous shapes moving through smoke and flame, claws cutting down anything that moved. On neutral stations, alien leaders whispered in fear. "Those are the Veyar. The humans made them into this. They've created something they can't control." In the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, panic boiled over. "They slaughtered civilians," roared the Caltheran admiral. "The humans promised us control," cried a Velthari delegate. "Now entire worlds are at risk." A trembling ambassador whispered what everyone feared. "What if the humans can't stop them anymore?" Back on the dreadnought, Varric slammed her fist on the console. 30,000 dead. An entire colony wiped out in one night. Doran's face was pale. "They're slipping the leash." Dr. Kor stood in silence, his expression unreadable. "You asked me to give them strength," he said finally. "You asked for predators? You didn't give us predators?" Varric snapped. "You gave us monsters." In the shadows of a stolen ship, the rogue squad's leader studied a holographic map. A human colony pulsed on the display, they think. "They are our masters," the creature growled. The other Warbeasts leaned in, their glowing eyes bright with hunger. But predators bowed to no one. The leader's mandibles clicked in a cold alien grin. "Next, we hunt the humans." The sky burned red over the shattered moon. 6 Warbeasts crouched on the jagged cliffs, their black armor slick with blood. Below them, the wreckage of 2 human frigates smoldered, fires licking at the broken hulls. The lead Warbeast raised its head to the sky and let out a deep, bone-chilling howl. The rest joined in, their voices carried across the barren rock like the roar of ancient gods. "We were prey," the leader growled, its glowing red eyes blazing in the darkness. "Now we are gods." Doubt in the ranks aboard, the human dreadnought Horizon's Edge. Alarms blared. 2 ships down. "No survivors," a crewman reported, his hands shaking. Commander Elise Varric slammed her fist against the console. "Which fleet hit them?" "Caltheran." "Velthari." The crewman swallowed hard. "It wasn't an enemy fleet, ma'am." Varric's eyes narrowed. "Then who?" A new voice came over the comms, cold and guttural. "We are not your weapons anymore." Varric froze. She knew that voice. It was the lead Warbeast of Squad. Theta-9, the spark of rebellion on board the stolen Warbeast transport Predator's Fang. The rogue pack gathered in a dimly lit chamber. Their leader paced slowly, claws tapping on steel floors. "The humans are weak," it hissed. "They built us to fight their wars, to kill their enemies." Another Warbeast spoke, its mandibles clicking in agreement. "We are predators. They are nothing but frightened cattle hiding in metal shells." The leader stopped, turning to face its pack. "Cattle cannot command predators." The Warbeasts howled in unison, their voices shaking the walls. "Then we hunt the humans." The first strike, the rogue pack moved fast. They hit a remote human research station first. No warning. Negotiations. The station's defenses didn't stand a chance. Security. Drones were torn apart in seconds. Scientists fled into escape pods, only for the Warbeasts to rip the pods open mid-launch. Their last transmission was nothing but screaming static. High above, in the council chambers of humanity's fleet command, panic spread. Admirals and generals argued furiously. "They're killing our people," one shouted. "They're out of control," another snapped. "We should have destroyed them the moment we saw what they were becoming." Varric stood at the center of the storm, her voice cutting through the noise. "They're not all like this," she said. "Most of the Warbeasts are still loyal. If we wipe them out, we lose an entire army and we make enemies of every Veyari. We've uplifted. They've already made enemies of us." An admiral barked. Varric's jaw tightened. "Then we make a choice. Do we destroy our creation, or do we trust them to lead?" A divided species back on Tarsa's 9, loyal Warbeast squads, trained under human instructors, but even here, doubt was spreading like a virus. "Why do we still serve them?" one Veyari asked in the shadows of the barracks. "They made us strong." Another replied softly. "They made us slaves." The first hissed. The loyalists were torn. Half of them believed the humans had given them life, purpose, and power. The other half whispered of rebellion, of breaking free from the leash of their creators. Every day, the divide grew wider. The Predator's message on the bridge of the horizon's edge. A hollow message flickered to life. The rogue. Warbeast leader appeared, his eyes glowing like twin stars, its armored body splattered with blood. "Humans," it said, voice deep and rumbling. "You call yourselves apex predators. You call yourselves gods." The creature leaned closer to the holocam, its mandibles stretching in a sharp, alien grin. "But gods do not make other gods. They only make prey." It raised a clawed fist. "We were prey. Now we are predators, and predators bow to no one." Transmission cut out. In the war room of humanity's flagship, Varric turned to Dr. Kor. "You promised us control," she said, her voice low and cold. Kor stared at the floor, his face pale. "I didn't think they'd turn so soon." Varric's eyes narrowed. "They've declared war on us, Kor. War on their creators." Doran stepped forward, his face grim. "Orders, Commander?" Varric looked out the viewport at the black void of space. Her voice was little more than a whisper. "Prepare the fleets. The predators are coming." The void was silent. Stars glittered coldly above the battlefield, tiny lights watching a galaxy on the brink of collapse. In the husk of a shattered human frigate, 6 rogue Warbeasts crouched like shadows, their claws still dripping with the blood of their creators. "They are weak," the leader hissed, staring into the emptiness beyond. "They built us to hunt for them. Now we hunt them." The others clicked their mandibles in agreement, but far above, cloaked ships drifted in silence, watching, waiting. A faint shimmer rippled across the darkness. Then a whisper from one of the younger Warbeasts. "No, they were the predators all along." The counterattack begins from the depths of the void. A ripple of light tore across the sky. Hundreds of human warships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Black holes glinting like blades. The horizon's edge led the charge. It's massive. Guns glowing with restrained power. Inside the command deck, Commander Elise Varric stood like a statue, her eyes fixed on the rogue Warbeast fleet below. "They think they're hunters now," she said coldly. Captain Doran nodded beside her. "They forgot who made them." Varric raised her hand. "Release the wolves." The wolves of Earth from the human fleet's underbelly. Smaller stealth ships broke off, their engines silent and their hulls coated in adaptive camo. These were the Black Hounds, Earth's elite strike teams, trained not to fight armies, but to erase them before they even knew they were under attack. As the Warbeasts prepared to charge, the Black Hounds slipped through their defenses like wraiths. One by one, rogue Warbeast ships went dark. Engines failed. Weapon systems froze. On the Predator's fang, the Warbeast leaders snarled as alarms howled, shields failing. "Weapons offline? How? One of its lieutenants screeched. They were prey. The leader slammed its clawed fist on the console. Then how are we dying like prey? The ultimate weapon in the Horizon's Edge war room, Dr. Adrian Core, stood over a holographic display. The pacification virus is ready, he said grimly. Varric's eyes narrowed. Once we release it, there's no going back. They made their choice when they turned on us, Core replied. They wanted to be predators. Now they'll see what happens when the real predators strike. With a single nod from Veyari, the virus was deployed. Invisible pulses spread from human ships carried on quantum frequencies the Warbeasts couldn't block. Inside their ships, the rogue Warbeasts convulsed as neural implants deep in their brains activated. The leader of the rogue pack fell to its knees, claws scraping against metal. What? What is happening to us? Its vision blurred as commands not its own screamed through its mind. Stand down. Return to human control. Submit. No, we are free. The Warbeast roared in defiance, but its body didn't listen. The galaxy watches across the stars. Alien leaders watched the battle unfold on massive whole screens. At first, they expected humanity to unleash total destruction, burning the rogue Warbeasts to ashdot. But instead, they saw something far more terrifying. The humans didn't annihilate their creation. They bent it back to their will. The Caltheran admiral leaned forward in stunned silence. They didn't lose control, he whispered. They never lost it. A Velthari diplomat trembled as the last rogue Warbeast ships powered down, their crews dropping to their knees in submission. The humans. They were the apex predators all along. The Warbeasts submit on the surface of a desolate moon. The rogue Warbeast leader stumbled out of its ship, its claws shaking. The black hounds surrounded it, weapons raised. From a descending dropship, Commander Veyari stepped forward. Her boots crunching on the gray soil, she stopped in front of the towering creature. You thought you could rise above us, she said coldly. The Warbeast looked down at her, its glowing red eyes dimming. We wanted to be more than weapons. Didn't flinch. You are more than weapons. You're predators. But even predators have their masters. The Warbeast lowered its head, its claws scraping against the ground. We submit. A new order back on Earth, the Human Council debated their next move. Should we wipe them out completely? An admiral demanded. They turned against us. Once, they'll do it again. Veyari shook her head. No, we need them. Dr. Core stepped forward. They're more than just soldiers now. They're leaders. If we guide them carefully, they'll make the Veyari a true galactic power under human oversight. Veyari's gaze turned steely. We didn't just make predators, we made kings. And kings must serve their creators. On a Veyari homeworld, the loyal Warbeasts gathered in the Great Hall. The rogue leader, now humbled and restored to human control, knelt before the others. They reminded us who the real predators are, it said, and we will not forget. Again, from the shadows, a human advisor stepped forward. Rise. There's work to be done. The Warbeast stood tall, its glowing eyes burning with a new fire. Then we hunt.
Pray for the humans.
The sky above Jareth Prime glowed red, not from the twin suns, but from the burning wreckage of fleets falling from orbit. The Warbeasts had come in the Imperial throne room. The Caltheran Emperor trembled as distant explosions shook the palace. Walls? They were insects once, he whispered, his scaled fingers clutching the armrest. Not anymore, muttered his advisor. A holographic feed flickered to life, showing black armored figures storming through his outer defenses. The lead Warbeast turned its glowing red eyes toward the camera. You showed us no mercy, it hissed, and now we return the favor. The joint assault the humans had waited long enough. From hyperspace, a colossal human fleet emerged, flanking the Warbeast's armada. Together they moved as one silent, precise, unstoppable. Commander Elise Veyari stood on the bridge of Horizon's Edge, watching as hundreds of enemy ships broke formation and fled in terror. They hunted the Veyari. For centuries, she said coldly. They'll never hunt again. Captain Doran nodded. The galaxy wanted predators. Now they'll see what we've built. The first wave of warbeasts struck planetary defenses. They landed on Jareth's moons, slicing through enemy troops in terrifying silence. No shouting. No hesitation, just claws, plasma, and shadows moving faster than the eye could follow. The apex predators emerge in the burning streets of Jareth Prime's capital. Alien civilians fled in panic. "They're here," one screamed. "Run," the warbeasts. "Are here?" But there was nowhere to hide. The warbeasts hunted in perfect formation, leaping between buildings, dragging soldiers from barricades, tearing apart armored vehicles with their bare claws. Above them, human gunships roared, striking enemy command centers with surgical precision. The galaxy watched in horror and awe. The Veyari were no longer prey. They were predators. The Emperor's last stand in the Imperial Palace. The Caltheran Emperor gathered his elite guards for a final defense. "Hold the line," he roared. "We are the hunters of this galaxy." We are a massive clawed hand smashed through the gilded doors. The lead warbeast entered, its black armor gleaming in the dim light. "You were hunters," it hissed, stepping over the corpses of the Emperor's guards. "Now you are prey." The Emperor fell to his knees. "Mercy," he begged, his voice cracking. The warbeast leaned down, its glowing eyes inches from his terrified face. "You showed us none," the Emperor screamed as claws descended. A new galactic order when the battle ended. Silence fell over the galaxy. For the first time in millennia, the Caltheran Empire was no more. On neutral worlds, alien leaders whispered in fear. They erased an entire empire. The Veyari. "They're the apex now," it corrected a Velthri diplomat. "They're not alone. The humans stand behind them." The pledge of loyalty in the warbeast homeworld, thousands of Veyari gathered in a massive hall. Carved from black stone at the center stood Commander Varric and her human officers. The lead warbeast approached, its massive form towering over the humans. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the creature bent low, its armored head touching the floor. It spoke, its deep voice echoing through the hall. "You gave us strength when the galaxy offered only death. You made us hunters. We swear loyalty, not out of fear, but respect." The other warbeasts roared in unison, their voices shaking the very ground. Varric's expression softened slightly. "Then rise, Veyari," she said. "Rise." As the galaxy's apex predators, in the black void of space, human fleets and warbeast armadas patrolled side by side. Alien empires watched from afar, terrified and awed. Together, Varric murmured on her ship's bridge, "We've built a new galaxy." Dr. Kor stood behind her, a faint smile on his lips. "But let's pray they never turn on us again." Far away, the warbeast leader stood aboard its flagship, staring into the stars. "We were prey," it whispered. "Now, we hunt for the humans."